Hello everybody, and today we are going to be doing a FNAF replayability tier list. Now please note that this only regards what my personal opinion of replayability of these games is. I have different criteria than a lot of people, I think, in regards to what counts for a replayable game, or at least maybe just some of the things I put a higher emphasis on than other people would. So yeah, just bear that in mind. And if you disagree with any of these, that's fair. This is just my personal opinions. It's not meant to reflect what I think should be the universal opinion. So, we're not going to do all of these because I haven't played all of them. I mean, some of these that are on this list are just other versions that I have never heard of for these games, and some of them are just titles that I either don't have access to or don't really feel any particular interest in playing at this point in time, so yeah, we're gonna skip them. So let's get started. This is my FNAF tier list. FNAF 1. I feel like FNAF 1 has a very high replay value due to being quick, simple, short, and sweet. I don't really have a lot to say against it. On my first run through, I beat the first 3 days in a row without even trying. I died twice on the 4th night, and then I believe I won the 5th night on the 1st, or at least after a few tries. I wouldn't hesitate to play this one again. I'm confident I can beat it. It does take skill, it's not mindless. It's fun and it's challenging, but not too challenging. We'll set it in A tier for now and maybe come back to it later. FNAF 2. Right. FNAF 2. The thing is, I actually really like this one. In theory. Well, I don't think the toy designs for some of the animatronics are quite it for me. The Wizards and the Mangle definitely more than make up for that with their extreme creepiness. I also think that the mechanics add some fun challenge, and in theory, I actually really like the tension on the later nights that the Wizards provide. The story is pretty decent too, even if not as elaborate as some of the later titles. I think I could actually enjoy replaying it, as I got through many of the nights without death on my first playthrough. But that 5th night, I don't know. I think it would be fine normally, but Balloon Boy coupled with Foxy's RNG factor on how quickly he'll kill you are the things that I think are going to put this one lower than FNAF 1. We'll give it a solid B tier for now. FNAF 3. Okay, in terms of story, aesthetics, and atmosphere, out of the original trilogy, I actually like this one the most. I even like most of the mechanics and think they're pretty fun. And I honestly don't care about the jump scare being lame. I think it's fitting for Springtrap to approach his son in a more personal and less animalistic way. However, the static on the screens. That is what makes this game so unlivable to deal with. Having played the VR version in Help Wanted and seen what it's like without the static, it is absolutely so much more enjoyable than with it, and so much better of an experience. I understand a challenge was needed, but the Phantom animatronics already added that challenge to things without the UI itself working against you. Yeah. I want to give this one a higher rating, but it's honestly going to have to go in C tier for now. FNAF 4. Well, this one is its own kind of pain due to the listening mechanics being a little hard to figure out in the beginning. But once you know what you're looking for, typically it's just really, really scary and honestly pretty hard, but like in a good way. In, well, I think a pretty winnable way. Though granted, I haven't truly beat the game yet due to taking a break out of physical health concerns at the time of doing it, since I was already shaking from other medical problems and didn't need more reasons to be having anxiety triggered. And this game is the most intense, so yeah. I'm gonna put this one in B tier for now. Next to 2. Might move it around later. Also, I really love the story, so that might bump it up past 2 later. We'll see. FNAF World. I've never played it. It looks cool enough. The story is decent, and there are elements of it that intrigue me. I'll probably play it someday, but honestly, I think gameplay style-wise, almost every other FNAF game speaks to me more. For now, I'm giving it a placeholder D tier. I'll get back to if I agree with that still one day when I play and finish it. I normally wouldn't even rank a game that I haven't played in this, but I've learned enough about it to think that I know around where I'd put it, so here's my current thoughts on it. Sister location. Listen, I adore this game from a narrative, aesthetic, and gameplay perspective overall. I would honestly love nothing more than to just pop this one into S tier and call it a day, because I really do feel in my heart that it deserves it. On paper, I feel like I could happily replay this 1,000 times and it never get old. But listen, even if we don't shoot for the hard as nails alternative ending and just play through the normal story, we can't just ignore Night 4, or even the absolutely unforgivingness of inputting the code into Baby's keypad on Night 5, but especially Night 4. Every time I absolutely want to replay Sister Location again and again and again, that is the one thing that most of all gives me pause. These specific parts of the game, again, especially Night 4, which took me 10 hours to beat, are absolutely merciless. And it's just such a shame, because it makes replaying this game such a daunting thing, even when I absolutely adore it anyway. For these reasons, I will have to put it in low B tier for now. It could move up or down at the end depending on how I feel, but for now that's the spot I think best suits it without allowing my bias to completely take over. Pizzeria Simulator. All of that being said, what in the ever-loving heck is wrong with this game? Like, the thing is, like Sister Location, I think this is easily one of the most fun games to play out of the entire series. The vibe is so cool, and the duality is just... But then, the night sections are just absolute spawns from hell. If you manage to pick up any more than just one of the animatronics. And sometimes even one is almost too much. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm sure for someone looking for a challenge, this is seventh heaven, but for me, this is like combining three of the factors I found the absolute most daunting from previous games. A heavy reliance on sounds, like in 4, to build paranoia hell. The lack of a decent and easily accessible camera system to tell you when you're in danger until it's often quite too late, like in 3. And an absolutely aggressive and merciless AI for the challenge on later nights, like in Sister Location. And then add on top of that a loud sound mechanic to obscure the sounds whenever you do most tasks that you must do in order to end the night, and make it possible to be sandwiched between 2 or more animatronics with no way to guarantee they will go away, and it all just makes it so impossible that I just stuck to using the in-game cheats to make the nights easier instead. And even then suffered a good 20 or 30 or more deaths on the final night before finally beating the game's true ending. For all of that alone, I really want to bump this game all the way to the bottom of the list. Like, I cannot even begin to fathom beating this game without the in-game included cheats. But the one thing that it does have going for it is that otherwise this game is super fun. The vibes are again off the charts. The humor is like Sister Location, just absolutely sublime, and there are 5 other endings you can get, most of which don't involve suffering through animatronic sandwiching hell. And the cheats do just exist readily there for you to use. So, yeah. All of that will bump this game up to a high C tier, I think. It's definitely, with the cheats, not as bad as having to deal with the staticky cameras. So, yeah, I think that's fair. UCN. Probably fun. I haven't played it yet, and for the very good reason that I feel like it isn't a game you showcase that much to people who are interested more in the story and lore. It does have that, and very importantly so, but it's something really just best shown in a YouTube video than actually playing during such a binge. And for me, I feel like the challenge of it is probably going to be lost on me, since I'm more there to enjoy the story elements and won't really look to put it on a high setting necessarily if I don't have to. As for replayability, given that that's how I feel about it, and even if I do take the challenge once, I'm probably not going to want to do it again and again and again unnecessarily. This one probably has the lowest replay value for me, unless it's to hear what the animatronics say when they kill you, which, again, I can just look up on YouTube and hear without getting jump scared. A respectful and appreciative D tier, but a D tier all the same. Help wanted. An absolute blast, to be honest. Even if a bulk of the actual game is mostly just replaying the old games in a new 3D environment with a few new added challenges on the side. I think the story is pretty alright too, and it helps set up Security Breach. Some of the new games were too hard for me to want to put the effort into for my first time around. A lot of the Blacklight mode challenges especially. Looking at you, FNAF 1 final challenge. But I do intend to beat them eventually. And the Halloween DLC was fun. For overall replayability, I'll give it a solid high B tier. Security Breach. I have already written a post on this one, and I'll edit those thoughts into here after recording this part, but I really don't have a lot of negative things to say about this game. And I think it's easily one of the most replayable. Overall, this one is going in S tier for now. I know that may be a controversial statement, but it's how I feel about this game. And it's my tier list, so I'll put it where I feel it deserves to be. Help Wanted 2. Take everything great about Help Wanted, sprinkle in the magic and mystery of the Security Breach Pizzaplex, add in a huge helping of originality, a sprinkle of more mobility and better graphics, and a nice portion of Security Breach, Ruin, and potentially even general FNAF relevant lore, and you have the ultimate version of what FNAF VR themed games can be. The minigames are super fun and replayable, and they just have so much style too. This one is an easy A tier. Oh my god, I wasn't recording this entire time, was I? Okay. Well. That's interesting. Alright. I guess let's reload and start over because I can't. That's not great. Ruin. I haven't beat Ruin yet. I actually, at the time of recording this, have only just started to play it and gotten past the title screen. But I have watched it in the past. And I'm just gonna rate it based off of the experience I've already had with it, plus what I already know about it from having watched the game before. I like this one. I know everybody is really crazy about the animatronic designs, and that's something I'll get into when I actually rate the animatronics themselves. I think they're spooky. I like a lot of them. But to me, what I find better about this one is just the atmosphere. Getting to walk around in a ruined version of the Pizzaplex after playing through Security Breach for so long is just incredible. It's an incredible feeling, and it's so eerie and spooky, and I love it. I am fascinated looking at the walls and everything that's there to see, reading the graffiti, and I think I even found a few really interesting things in both this and Security Breach so far, but this isn't the place to talk about that. So, we'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, I really like Ruin so far, and I think the story's good. I do have some opinions about some of the things that some of the fandom believes about this game. I think there's a lot of misunderstandings, but overall, Ruin itself, I think it's good. I don't think that for me it's quite, and I know I'm probably gonna get disagreed with a lot on this. I don't think it's quite as good as Security Breach itself, the main game, so I'm gonna put it in S tier, but it's gonna be below Security Breach. because I just don't think that I was as personally invested in it as I was in the plot of Security Breach. And that's probably because neither Freddy nor Gregory were actually really there, and I actually really liked both of them. But yeah, solid S tier. Not the highest, but lowest tier. It's good. Oh, I guess I should put Curse of Dreadbear up there with this because it is technically a separate DLC, but I was just counting it with the main game because when I got it, it was already together. But I mean, I'll put it up there anyway. So let's have a look over the list. Yeah, I think that's about right. I really want to put Security Breach higher, and because believe me, when I say that I love this game, I love this game. In spite of its, well, what I personally consider to be flaws in regards to the difficulty on Night 4 and a little bit of Night 5, I adore this game. I really don't care. I don't care about flaws. I love this game, but this is about replayability. When we get to a list that's actually about my personal preference on which games I like the most, I'll put this one higher, but I can't feel right about moving it up because it genuinely is a problem. I don't think I can move it. I think it's already kind of pushing it to put it above 3 and Pizzeria Simulator, but that's just how I feel as far as what I would replay the most. I think Security Breach would be higher, at least in a serious playthrough. I could easily replay Pizzeria Simulator a whole lot. It's just the way that I would replay it wouldn't be necessarily without cheats, or even then with the cheats, because I struggled a lot even with the cheats on that final night. As I said, I would probably just not beat the final night a lot of the time, except for maybe to get all the endings once. I think I would just be playing it for the sake of playing it and not necessarily doing the ending, so I don't consider that a true replay, at least in my books. So I can't really put that above Sister Location, because I'd be much more likely to finish Sister Location despite Night 4 to completion than I would to want to endure the full game of Pizzeria Simulator again, even with the cheats. And I'm not sure that it's fair to put 3 below Pizzeria Simulator. Granted, I didn't actually get to finish this one yet, but I feel like the enjoyment factor, while I love 3 and I love its aesthetic and I love the story of it, and Springtrap is one of my favorite animatronics, hands down, I just don't find it as much fun. And I think that in terms of actual genuine lighthearted fun, or even just fun in general, I think that I'd probably be a lot more likely to replay Pizzeria Simulator, even just in a lighthearted, silly way, maybe even on a serious way, to completion, than I would to replay 3. Now, that's not to say I won't replay 3 after I finish it. I will. I'll probably replay pretty much every game in this list a couple of times or more for various reasons, like streams or just for my own enjoyment, you know. I love this series so much. But at least in terms of priority, yeah, 3 I think belongs below Pizzeria Simulator, because it just doesn't have as much going for me. It's great, but it doesn't have as much going for it. And yeah, I know, I'm sure you guys noticed that E and F tier are empty. That's because I don't dislike any of these games. No matter how hard some of them are, I love every single one of them. They all have a special place in my heart. And at the end of the day, I still enjoyed playing them even when they were hard. Because at the end, there would always be that moment of victory, and it's an indescribable feeling when you've been fighting for 10 hours in Sister Location Night 4 and you finally beat it. So yeah, I think that will be my replayability tier list for FNAF. I will definitely update this someday in the future when the new game or games come out. I think there might actually be another one coming out after Into the Pit. We don't have a date for it or anything, but yeah. So that's my tier list for FNAF.